everyone, and welcome to the Lightbringers podcast, episode 33.
Wow.
Potentially. I don't look. It's like the only thing. I think it's almost like a guessing game right now, which is actually kind of part of my fun week. And also the reaction from Boots, if Boots is here. Of whether or not that feels true, because no one else knows. No one else knows, not even the viewers. So it's absolutely fine. And we have some awesome, amazing guests here. We have, once I actually get over to that screen, because my OBS is being weird, because it just now has so many windows. We got the Boots, we got the Croof, we got the Fornax, aka the Crown Herald, if you don't know. Who have all blessed us with their amazing, awesome presence. You may all wave in unison or say something like hello.
Hi, everyone.
Wow.
Hi.
Croof is
Did I do it?
Croof did.
Yo, bitches. Yeah.
Yo,
Something like hello.
It's going to be a different, fun, interesting one today. Oh, yeah. Well, not that it's not fun. Ever.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
It's different because now it's fun and interesting.
As opposed to the others.
It's always bad. It's pretty much bad most of the time. But other than that, thank you so much for bearing with us, because we had a week off last week because it was Thanksgiving and there was no way I was going to be like, people, do you want to come hang out for a podcast on a Friday or Black Friday? No, everyone's in the sales. That's what they were doing. No, I don't know what they were doing. They're probably enjoying a chill Friday, which is what I did as well. Oh, there are dogs in the background.
Yeah, just having a little rest.
Oh,
A little
there.
arrest.
Well, let me just get him on screen a little bit more. Him? Dogs? Him?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, look at that. That's cute. If you can't watch the video, go and watch the video. If you're on YouTube and all the things, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well for future Lightbringers podcasts, as well as watching all the past ones, because there's a bunch of them. There's like 80 episodes or something stupid. As well as on Apple Music, please chuck us a little review. 5-star that shiznit. I'd appreciate that very much. As well as doing a bunch of other things that you can do on other sites. Rate it in some way, because there's millions of sites that this is on. So I appreciate the feedback and everything else. Drop a comment as well, because we will be doing a show which will just be Q&A. So you will be able to ask your questions live, as well as ones from the comments. And we will answer them, Boots, I promise. There will be a show
I
that
don't think
will
it's
happen.
happening. I think this is a lie.
We need questions though first. Like, that's the thing. I actually need people to ask questions. I know there has been in the past. I've got some.
How many questions do you need before we do this?
Well, the thing is,
I know. You're
is
saying
that
like
we
minimum of 30?
7.
Oh,
7.
37. Okay.
No, 7. Just 7.
I think we can shoot for 37.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be a
You could
longer
also
show.
invent people and like say,
Yeah.
Dogmaster96 says, why is Jebro so handsome? And that's a good
thanks.
question.
That's nice. Aw,
Well,
maybe
I mean,
Boots thinks
Jebro, that was a fake person, though.
Oh.
Yeah, this person doesn't exist.
Person, accurate statement.
Aw. See,
I'm saving your boots. I'm saving your boots.
What is
Very good.
happening today? Everyone's being nice. Is it because Rook's not here?
I think we can
I think that's a
I
large
don't know.
part.
It's because like Thanksgiving happened. It's the Christmas spirit,
Yeah,
right? I don't
and I'm
know.
thankful for you all and the Goes to
Same.
community. You know,
What's
really
shield
brings us
mode?
together.
Yeah, most of them. Some of them. Thankful for some of them.
My statement still stands, everyone.
Shield mode is about protecting chat, so it's about like hate raids and stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
put
more
your
protective
guardian
feature.
angels on your Twitch chat today.
Yeah, it's a bit random. I don't know. I don't understand it massively, but it looks cool. A little shield. You know, the intention is there. Hopefully it works. So today, I don't know. You know, I mean, it's Switch.
It's like those home security systems. Like you have the shield, it'll help you. It's like it's not really going well.
You
We'll see
do
how it
realize
works.
that most people who have those security systems just have that little box on their house or their
Yeah.
apartment. And it just says, "Warning: this place
Yeah.
is alarmed." And it's just like, nah, it's not alarmed because that costs a lot of money. The box doesn't though. Can make that. Anyway, we're going to be talking about actually, let's talk about one thing first. So on Twitter, there was a cheeky picture that was posted about the Wing 8 raid, which is not a thing. It is not a thing that is happening.
Why are we bringing this up?
Because it's funny.
I think it really shook us. It shook the community because it's not April Fool's. No one was really expecting it. It was on a Friday. Regal Power just bulldozed everyone. I woke up, crack of dawn, my eyes crusty with the sleep bugs all in it, and I'm just like, I look at my phone, I get so excited, and I go straight to the Guild Wars 2 website, and it's not there.
Yeah.
I read
crestfallen.
I read the first sentence, and it said something something along the lines of, just to prove that this raid content isn't dead. And I was like, there's no way they would ever write that in an official post. There's no way.
Yeah, the wording
I started to
wasn't
catch on when they talked about dungeons, and I was like, okay, well, let me just make sure this is a joke.
Exactly.
I think it's easy to fool people when they want to be fooled, and I think the community would very much like to see new raids and new dungeons, and someone offering them a tasty taste of that. It hooked me. I'm like, oh, and then Proof's like, no, and I'm like, oh, you bastards, absolute bastards. Why? The world is bad enough. Do you not fuck with me that much, okay?
How did you pronounce that just then?
Fork, so she doesn't
Fork.
swear.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to spork. Spork is also a lovely curse word.
Sporks are handy though.
I know. I thought a spork was a thing. Mind you, a
It
fork
is
is a thing as well. Yeah,
It's a thing.
so-
Fork is not
Fork is
an imaginary.
Forks do not exist. There is no spoon.
fork. New merch, fork knacks. You just make forks.
Yeah.
Fork-
Just make them.
fork next to a phone next. Yeah, that's it.
And you won't be able to beat IKEA on the prices of forks anyway. Okay, so.
But how did you feel about that, Jebro? Because you brought it up. Do you want to
it was
have
just
anything
funny.
else to say?
It was kind of like, I mean, it was just kind of a funny thing to mention. I think I was just like, because I replied to the thing and I was like, I get that this is a joke, but I can kind of see why people are upset, I guess, because there is so much hope and desire for another wing, because I think in a lot of games, and to be honest, it kind of hooks into the conversation we're having, because that is kind of what people add to their MMORPGs because of vertical progression. Raids in some games, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV specifically, are synonymous with adding raid/dungeon mythic content to their games to extend the level, to extend your application of just getting extra gear and stuff, and levels and stuff like that. So it's actually a huge part of vertical progression, which is actually it will be quite important. Guild Wars 2 doesn't produce those anymore, and hasn't released an official statement about that, which we've talked about in pretty much like every single show we've ever done. And that's what I'm saying. But hey, the merrier. Not much we can do about that. But yeah, I just thought it was a funny thing to mention. And Rook was in our Discord. I'm just gonna. Sorry, Rook. Rook posted it in our Discord chat for Lightbringers, like elsewhere, and I was like. And then everyone was excited, and I woke up, I was like, same, like, sleepy-eyed, like Kroof, and I was like, what? Shit. Like, God. I was like, yes, we can talk about this, and what's it going to be like, and la la la, and no. So we're going to talk about vertical progression instead. But first, we're going to do a small intro. Boots, what do you do where you do it?
I have a YouTube channel called World Avengers, and I do videos there about Guild Wars 2. Yeah. The end.
Kroof.
Short, sweet, to the point. Hi, I'm Kroof. I also have a YouTube channel, aptly named Kroof, where I do a bunch of Guild Wars 2 videos, and I recently put out a short. I'll probably be making a couple other shorts about the concept art in the game that you might not have seen before, because I always scour the art station, and I find some treasures. So go check that out if you would like, and I also stream here on Twitch throughout the week. Lovely to be here. Thank you very much.
Cool. Onyx.
Yeah, I'm Vornax, and you can catch me here. The Crichton Herald on YouTube and the Crichton Herald on Twitter for as long as Twitter lasts. It's got the life expectancy of a fruit fly at the moment, possibly. But yeah, I make Guild Wars 2 content.
Awesome. And if you want to check me out, we're right here on Twitch as well as YouTube, Instagram, all the things. Not wearing shorts though. I don't wear shorts in the winter. It's not California. Okay, so we're going to talk about vertical progression. Guild Wars 2, of course, is not synonymous with vertical progression in any kind of way, other than getting to 80. Actually, well, maybe fractals, I guess. PvP rank. World v World rank, maybe?
No,
I mean, is that
no.
vertical progression though? I guess, yeah. Well, these are the questions I'm going to ask, Boots.
It's a well,
Kind of, in a weird
it's-
way.
it's kind of just
Adriana?
Well, let me start elsewhere first, and then I'll ask that question. That was my
All right.
fault. So do
Really
you
throwing
actually?
us
I'm
in the
actually
deep
going to
end.
put that in. Well, I think I'm going to put that in as a question. Good. Okay.
Okay.
What does Guild Wars 2 do as vertical progression? There you go. That's going in. Okay, Consumi is live doing the document things. Do you prefer vertical or horizontal progression in MMORPGs? And you could open that up to other games as well. So, you know, the feeling of not going up maybe in level or power, but like, you know, kind of gaining power elsewhere. But you could argue that that's.
Do you want to
vertical
first
progression.
define?
Yeah, I
versus-
think in MMORPGs, that's a good point. So in MMORPGs, let's compare Guild Wars 2 to, say, Final Fantasy 14, World of Warcraft, and other MMORPGs. ESO is more. ESO's actually gone horizontal now because their
it's been a
champion
while.
point system has stopped. They stopped it at a certain point. But it is still vertical for a fair while. But their gear isn't. The gear is very sideways. So horizontal progression would be more about Guild Wars 2's kind of progression, where we talk about the mastery tracks rather than the leveling of your own character. So you increase in power sideways rather than upwards. So you don't gain levels, you don't gain stronger gear really, other than like, you know, ascended and legendary. You don't gain an essential massive amount of power. It's just more abilities and access to other things. Whereas World of Warcraft is like you increase by 5 or 10 levels, you gain a bunch of new gear, which you have to farm for, and they add a bunch of new content so that you can do that.
And it makes everything else before it obsolete, essentially.
Absolutely. So that's one of the most important points, that everything becomes kind of not great afterwards. So the feelings and thoughts
I would push
behind
back
that.
on that. I would push back on that a little bit because as a WoW player, I actually do revisit the old content
Mhm.
because I like collecting mounts.
Do you put back on the old gear?
There's a transmog system.
Ah.
Yeah, but do you put
collect all the
Stats.
appearances, right?
I
So
mean the
what-
appearances. I mean the stats, though.
Okay, so no, but I'm still collecting legendary, order hall weapons and mounts. There's still some value there to the community of redoing O raids for achievements and transmogs and just the fun of it to go through like for example, you can go through last year's mythic content in a 5-man group, and it still can be a bit challenging. But you don't have to have all that raid and all that guild and all that drama that can come with it.
Okay.
But-
yeah.
But I
That's
think
what
the
it is.
essence
Dead.
of vertical progression.
No, it's not. It's still content that exists, I suppose. But yeah.
Yeah, the essence of vertical progression, though, will directly impact your gameplay experience of that content. So, while there is value in terms of cosmetics, it does kind of push out content in a gameplay perspective for people to kind of like continue to search forward to the new expansion, the new patch that will introduce that new raid and that new dungeon.
Okay, well, how about... Sorry, go on. Ryan.
I was just going to say, it depends what you play for. It
Yeah,
depends
true.
your mindset. So if you
yes,
are, if all you care about is big numbers on a screen and getting the latest, greatest, and that kind of the kind of cutting edge, and wanting that progression, then yeah, definitely there's like a horizon of content. Unlike Guild Wars, which is just you are just surrounded by it. There's no kind of limit to what you can do.
But the difference between that game and Guild Wars 2 is that the gameplay experience, even if you are going back to old content, there isn't any alteration in the way that you approach it. For raids that released in 2016, you can't clear through it, where in other games you would be able to. So I think that's kind of the crux of the difference. It's not necessarily about what you are trying to play for, it's how these systems of vertical and horizontal progression influence your gameplay experience with mechanics. Because you can, even current and old content, you can always want the new skins or the old skins, so that will always be there.
Yeah.
Well, on that, we'll definitely dive more into this conversation later as we get to those kind of questions that I have for you all. But in terms of like preference, and we don't need to delve too deeply into this, but like, a couple of reasons maybe why you enjoy that as well. But like, do you enjoy the horizontal, like, kind of typical older school kind of vertical progression? I don't know. What do people feel about that?
I would say that there's a big draw towards vertical progression.
Do you enjoy it, Boots?
I do. For any game, basically, I enjoy vertical progression. I do think, though, once you hit a certain period of time playing a game, you appreciate horizontal progression more for the long haul. For the like, if it's an MMO that you're going to be revisiting for 10 years. Horizontal progression is so much more not rewarding, but it feels better because the things you do will always be important in the future. And that's why when I was playing WoW, it's one of the reasons I quit WoW, just because, you'd come back for the new expansion, you'd gear up, you'd level up, and you'd basically lose everything you did before. If you skipped an expansion because you weren't into it that time, then you're way behind everybody else. And it feels like your past actions are less important in a vertical progression MMO.
What, you feel like an invalidation of your journey kind of thing, or?
No, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It sometimes feels like an artificial reset.
Yeah.
Like, you're just getting reset for the sake of the new content. And to kind of dovetail off of that, I think for me, I actually, very similarly, I enjoy vertical progression to an extent, particularly for leveling. And as you're learning the mechanics of a game and you are growing your class, it's fun to acquire new skills and to increase your specializations, and that in a way gives you more power. But then once you reach your max level, it feels nice to be able to say, like, oh, I've mastered this class, and
exactly.
I can approach
and that's why Guild Wars
content.
2 has that, right? Like, Guild Wars 2, the entire core game is vertical progression. And then you hit a plateau, and then the jump from core game to any of the expansions, you could say, is also vertical progression. But between expansions, it's horizontal.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always a place for vertical progression in games, especially if you're not talking about MMOs. Basically, every game has vertical progression in it. Every single player game is a vertical progression game, unless you're playing Myst or something.
Yeah, it depends, right? And which is kind of why you asked, I guess, what do we count vertical progression as, which is a good question. Onyx, do you have what do you prefer? Because we know obviously you play, like, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, you play a lot of different MMOs. Like, what do you prefer?
I play a few standalones as well. I'm quite into some cozy gaming as well, because gosh, so I don't know. I'm a queer fish. I don't even have a favorite color, so I'm quite hard to pin down on these kind of things. I think there are benefits and reasons to have a bit of both in your games. I also think that it depends how the game does it. So World of Warcraft, when it originally kicked off, had a vertical progression system which went over expansions. It had systems that players understood that they could progress on, and they felt that they were progressing as a character stretched over expansions. And then Warlords of Draenor shit the bed with this brand new kind of concept of with this brand new kind of
Proof
concept.
is like just getting in the corner, just like, God damn. Sorry.
I survived.
I saw your tweet the other day. Go on,
Sorry,
continue,
I didn't mean to
sorry.
try. I'm not trying to kill you. Promise. They started to introduce these systems whereby they were kind of like a one expansion, one and done system. So you put all this effort in, you put all these resources in, and then it's gone. And then there's something else, and you put all this effort in, you put all the, and on it went. And until Legion, where they actually hit something that was actually enjoyable. And then the next two expansions just crashed and burned and destroyed their player base, as well as like burning their own house down with the way they've been running the business.
Yeah.
So now they're returning to more of a Final Fantasy model, more of the ethos of Guild Wars 2 with story progression, more of the ethos of Final Fantasy with understandable, continuous progression through expansions so that people don't feel like their time is disposable. And I think that that's the most important thing. It's like respecting a player's time. Guild Wars 2 can be very, very good at that because of the vertical progression, because when you put your effort in to get your legendary armor, it is legendary forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
The effort is really rewarded. There's a lot of payback. And I think that I've always argued that Guild Wars 2 is the best game for people who care about player skill over gear stats. So it depends what... If you're happy to chase numbers, then a vertical progression is for you. If you're always chasing the thing on the horizon, if the chase is yours. If you're wanting something more long-term, something to build into and to grow into and to experience in a less territorial, tactical way, then I think that horizontal progression might be for you. But
So you're saying that you would bang World of Warcraft but marry Guild Wars 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, who are we killing?
Yeah, who are we killing? New World.
No! New World's good.
I'm not answering any of those questions.
New
no.
World you can't kill anyway, because they will. There's the whole story base is based around you being immortal. Anyway.
Plot armor, except in Guild Wars 2.
Well, good questions, good thoughts. These bring on some more thoughts of my own.
Thank you, Tag Tree. I agree. I am pretty awesome.
Wait,
Oh
what?
God, kill me now. Anyway.
I'm so confused. What is it? Lost Ark is one of those games which really gets that idea of vertical progression treadmill going for me, where it's, and also Black Desert Online, like you would just level, like, and it can take you maybe years to get a level, right? Because the XP amount is just so ridiculous. Because I don't think there's an end level, but I think you can just keep going, but like, you know, it just takes you a long time to get a level. So there's that kind of vertical, like really hardcore kind of just like min-maxing vertical progression as well. And in Guild Wars, I don't know. It's funny because I was watching Lazy Peon. So if you don't know who Lazy Peon is, everyone like does basically started in World of Warcraft, funnily enough, and plays all the MMOs, all of them, does a review of them, like, you know, first impressions, was going back in time, you know, Star Wars Old Republic, you know, Warhammer Online, now private server, and just the really bottom of the barrel MMORPGs, you know, that maybe someone created with stick characters, I don't know, like really, really arse.
RuneScape?
Just like, he's done RuneScape as well, yeah. But like,
Reading.
he was watching he was talking about, you know, am I going to go back to Warcraft? And then he was going through all these different games that he's played because he liked Guild Wars 2. He streamed it back in the day. He's, you know, been a big advocate for the game in different ways, likes it. But he, you know, said that with Guild Wars 2 and ESO, two of the biggest problems he had with the games was vertical progression. And the fact that does not exist. So there's no striving to go, like, where do you go? Like, you know, with an MMORPG for him specifically, and this is his experience, And what he does, you know, he needs something to keep aiming for. And like with an expansion, another expansion, you're leveling up, you're getting more gear, you're getting new experiences, more Mythic Plus, more raids, more all of that kind of fun stuff. So it was like, you know, at the end of the day, like towards the end of the video, he's like, I've gone full circle. I'm back into World of Warcraft. Because he quit pretty much. That's where he made all his content. And then came all the way back round. And now he's like, did a stream and did all this kind of stuff. And like, wow, okay. So like after all of these MMORPGs, after so many years, she's ended up going back to the game, which has just got these kind of more old school mechanics, but the game is developed in different ways. And I'm not a massive fan of World of Warcraft for different reasons, but like, you know, there is that argument of like in Guild Wars 2, there isn't that much to really go for in the higher echelons in terms of like that vertical limit. There's only the sideways / cosmetics.
There's achievements, there's legendary and ascended gear. But yeah, you're right. In vertical progression games, there's more clearly defined goals that you're supposed to try to go and chase.
I think so. But still, there is a lot of that kind of achievement, because they started to bring that stuff in more, right? So like transmog achievements, especially in Guild Wars, World of Warcraft more as well. And
yeah, World of Warcraft basically copy pasted the transmog system or the from Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, it's pretty good system. I don't.
Guild Wars 2 stays inspiring.
Yeah,
that's the important thing, right? But like, I think the thing when Lazy Pawn said that, I was like, well, is there a reason why I'm not playing Guild Wars 2 that as much as I do at the moment? I know I got a new job and all the things, so that's the reasons I'm not playing many games at the moment. But like, there is part of me where I'm like, raids, you know, done them mostly to death. Fractals are kind of okay for me personally. And like, you know, World v World's fun and everything else, but there's no real getting to that next part. Like the expansions are really, really good because you want to get through them. So that's like a form of, you know, kind of vertical progression. Is kind of, we spoke about that earlier in a way, but also just not, because it's mastery level, and all you're doing is getting story. You're not getting power.
Guild Wars 2 feels like its endgame experience is a practice in self-freedom and trying to kind of cope with the idea that the game won't hold your hand, which we've mentioned a couple times can sometimes be to its own detriment, especially at the early stages of it.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's very exciting because once you key into it, then you're like, oh, it's kind of like becoming conscious again. You're like, oh, I can actually kind of make my own endgame goal. And sometimes it is actually very comforting to have a more clear vertical progression in terms of gear. And it allows you to not really think too much about it and just enjoy the game for what it is. But Guild Wars 2, I've also come into this, run into this issue sometimes where I'm like, I don't know what to do, or I've done everything and now I'm waiting to feel inspired again to try a different goal. And I think that's really beautiful, but it's kind of the other side of the knife, you know. It doesn't keep you in as much as something where a vertical progression game can.
It's like I mean, it is a theme park MMO, but there's no huge glaring sign saying go on this ride in Guild Wars 2.
Absolutely, especially with achievements. Like, you know, we talked about that, right? Like how a lot of the story sometimes is just hooked behind the scenes in the secret entrance, in that, you know, that small, you know, that door, you know, those websites where it says, you know, secret bars and pubs that you can go to in the city. It's kind of like that, and not even that obvious. Yeah. So
can I argue something that I've just kind of... Wait,
oh, absolutely. Discussion is terrible on this podcast.
Easy answer.
Oh, nice face. I like that.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
do. Wait. What was the face? I missed it. Is it a new
sad face. Just the sad. No new ones. I've been super lazy.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're massively lazy.
I am super lazy.
I'm banning that word. I ban that word with clients, actually.
You were just using it talking about the lazy peon. What is this hypocrisy? What is this hypocrisy?
Yeah.
It's true. She had a conversation about it.
Can Can I argue that there is vertical progression in Guild Wars 2?
Yes, go for it.
It's just hidden. So rather than having a level that you reach, and at different points during the leveling process, you unlocking different abilities and skills, they've just put it into the mastery system. So you get a new specialization. So it's just like leveling your character 10 levels as you unlock all the different abilities.
Yeah.
And you get the new mount system, or you get a mastery system. So you want to have the turtle, which is rather cool, but a bit clumsy. And then boom, you're literally leveling a system. It is literally there.
So that's why I wanted to define vertical and horizontal progression at the beginning, because yes, there is a leveling system in the masteries that you could say is vertical, but in reality it's more of a horizontal progression because it's very incremental changes to how powerful your character is when you get those masteries. But like I said, the jump from core to any of the expansions is kind of like a vertical progression jump, because mounts are very powerful things for a character, for example. I would say the definition for me for vertical progression is much larger jumps in power than what you would get from the masteries.
I would say
we get a little bit of that in expansions with elite specializations, but, and this has always kind of been a critique of my own, even when you're doing elite specializations, from expansion to expansion, it's a shared currency system. So if you, like, I was able to go into Path of Fire, and before I even went to Alona, I instantaneously completed the entire Firebrand track, which doesn't feel great in terms of a vertical progression system, but sometimes the masteries do feel like that. So I kind of see what you're saying, Fornax. I think for a newer player, the masteries can be seen as a very, maybe even daunting vertical progression because there are so many. But for a consistent player, we oftentimes get only like 1 or 2 new masteries per update. And it just doesn't, as opposed to others where you get like a whole new dungeon with like 6 different armor sets to like collect and all that stuff. And it's character bound, whereas the mastery system is also account bound, which is something to consider.
Is it?
But I see what you're saying, yeah.
It's an urgency thing, right? Like there is no urgency to get like the mastery max. Like I don't have mastery max. There's no reason for me to be like super keen about grabbing it either. But like with leveling, like if you get new levels, and like you said with dungeons, Kroof, like, you know, most people will probably, if they're into that, mostly they will start hammering on that train of like getting the gear, getting those levels, getting the max stats, right? Whereas masteries really just give you access to things which which honestly you don't need other than gliding and aspects of gliding for raiding.
Yeah, the raiding mastery track used to have that sense of urgency, and then they got rid of it.
You don't have it at all. You don't even need it for even like the teleporters and stuff like that. I mean, you do. I don't know if there's a story block behind getting certain things, but you have to get things when you're doing the story.
Yeah, for Heart of Thorns, they really went harder with that idea. There used to be like used to have to get like 5 or 6 different masteries. Now it's just 1 mastery is required per map. And then in Path of Fire, that was even less so. I was like, you just have to get the mount in order to progress, and that didn't take too much time in my experience, and I just replayed it. So
apart from the sky scale.
The sky scale isn't necessary though, but like it is very good to have.
Well,
it's good to have, yeah.
It's more of a journey.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
And the roller beetle.
I love it.
It's
also a choice. In fact, a lot of people would say they never use the roller beetle because it's too difficult to use. I'm not one of those people. The roller beetle is the best mount, and they need to design more races for it.
I can't drift for shit. That's the problem.
Okay,
I'm okay. I'm not great, but I'm passable, I guess. Like with the roller beetle.
I don't know.
Good.
I mean,
I'm very good.
Thinking about, so I've just played the new expansion for WoW.
Okay.
I've played through the story content. I've unlocked all the bits and pieces.
Oh, I have a question for you after you go.
Okay. And I don't necessarily feel like just because there's an arbitrary progression system, it kind of, while I was playing it, it was kind of bothering me. It's like, why do I have to do this? it kind of irked me that they had to get to this arbitrary number that they've had to squish once before. What they're going to do, get to 100 again and then squish it back down. It just seems a bit inelegant, to say the least, way of dealing with the system. And I when I was playing through it, I felt that like when I get a new elite specialization, I had more meaningful change to my character and their ability to interface with the content than I was just adding a few extra points to the system and unlocking a few extra spells, right?
Yeah.
And not to diss that, and thank God that they've gone on to a more rational, long-term plan for player progression. I think there's lots of good things about Dragonflight that recommend it, but it's a lot of it is a pale imitation of Guild Wars 2, and 2, you're getting new zones, you're getting new things, but in terms of like just the amount of stuff that you get for your character to level, I think you get a lot more from elite specializations and from the mastery systems for the map traversal and map interaction that you get in Guild Wars 2 than you do in World of Warcraft.
Okay.
Speaking as a person who loves both.
I think you have a very good point there, and I kind of agree with you. In fact, I fully agree with you. My question for you is like you did. I think you answered it.
That like you went from just partly to fully in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, sometimes I like hedging my bets, but in some kinds
you're kind of indecisive, but very
to.
decisive at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. I think you already answered the question I was going to ask you because you said poor imitation. But I was watching
porn
some
imitation. It's like what's that?
That's Rule 34.
Oh, that's a different. That's the Legacy Larry game.
But
Might get a bit old.
So I was watching some videos of Dragonflight and watching because I really wanted to see the dragons and how they handled and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously, it's like a bit of a imitation of. I mean, very much an imitation
Sherlock.
of
Yes.
Griffin, and then also sort of wraps in a little bit of the sky scale into the Griffin.
And gliding. With the Drakthir. Yeah.
Yeah, but gliding's gliding.
Trust me. No.
But my question, looking at the video, I don't know how it feels when you play it, but looking at the video, it looked very floaty and like not. It looked like it didn't feel good to play.
Disconnected.
Yeah.
Clunky.
And that's correct.
Clunky as fuck.
Good to know.
Really.
I think that's a blanket statement on the movement of World of Warcraft in general. Like, it always felt, which it would have been nice hearing that. I haven't played it myself, but I guess it would have been nice if they did actually kind of hone in on that, because despite who implemented it first, it is a good system when you kind of nail down a good mount, flying element to the game. But that's disappointing to hear.
I mean, right, to be clear, it is a vast improvement for the game.
Yes.
Vast, because they just have a taxi system. They have pretty skins that all do the same thing. There's no interaction. It's click, forget it, and go, right? You may as well not be on a mount. They may as well do teleports, as far as it's concerned. And I know that they have mounts because they want to have a sense of the vastness of the world, right? And they don't want to have instant teleportation. I mean, you've got mages, but I play a mage. But they want to feel like the world is big, and the world does feel big. And the dragon riding, which is only specifically in the new continent that they've introduced, not anywhere else, not like Guild Wars where you can fly everywhere, feels great. It feels like an absolute improvement, 100%. But it is, without favor or anything, it is a poor imitation. Like, for example, when you land on a griffin, it is beautiful. You feel like you are landing. The animation is fluid. It feels connected. You feel connected with the mount. You feel connected with all the mounts. In World of Warcraft, it is a disconnected. There's no sense of momentum. When you land, they want to have like their big dragons landing, right? But when you have the thud come a few moments after you've landed, a little bit jarringly kicking you out of the experience.
Okay. Well,
But oh, sorry.
no, I was going to
but-
say, well, it's not massively on topic right now. Talking about the expansion. It's about,
Well,
like
mounts and like the way that players, move and experience the game. I guess kind of like vertical
Oh
progression.
yeah, true. I don't
you
mind
know.
dipping into things and like news of MMOs generally, but like, I mean, and it's
Especially with
good
Guild
to-
Wars 2's mount system. I think Guild
Yeah.
Wars 2's mount system is actually a pretty big vertical progression. Comparatively, your experience will vastly change with mounts versus not having mounts.
Yeah. And it's nice to hear about that as well, and kind of like a little bit of like, it's not good. Get fucked.
Oh my god!
Sorry.
I don't feel like
was
that.
joking.
I don't feel like
like
I think when they copy off each other and when they take the best bits of all the other games, we the consumers, we the people who
Oh,
pay the
yeah.
money for the game,
I agree.
we benefit. So everybody steal from everybody else. You have my
I
dimension.
agree.
More
with that, for
competitive
sure.
products too.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with that. I've always championed that statement. It's just because it's wow. Anyway, so with that in mind, like we've kind of, I've got another question for you all as well.
Oh,
I've got
Wait a
loads. I've
second.
got loads of questions. Many
are you
questions.
just gargling, Proof?
A little bit.
Okay,
What do you
alright.
What do you think? Like, pardon me. Jesus, granola bar. That's not a new granola bar brand or anything. It's just there's one stuck in my mouth. Throat thing. What do you think kind of vertical progression adds or takes away from the experience of an MMORPG? Like, because MMOs started to move away from vertical progression for a reason, right? Like, why do you think Guild Wars 2 maybe didn't go for that?
Because they wanted to respect your time a little bit. I think vertical. Okay, so what it adds is clearly defined goals for people to strive for, and it's kind of like a carrot on a stick kind of is a impolite way to say it, but it's like it gives you a visceral feeling of accomplishment when you level up and you do these things, and that's what a lot of people play games for. And I think the downside is the way it's implemented in a lot of games that last a very long time, MMOs in particular. I think it's fine in like single player games that you play for 10 hours or something or 20 hours and then the game's done and then it's fine. But an MMO that has new expansions, that comes out with new content, that continues the grind, continues the treadmill, that's the downside. It resets your awesomeness to you're not that important anymore. You have to grind again. Gives you more goals to attain, and that's why people buy the expansions and play them. Besides, storyline and raids, but it's also the downside.
I think when expansions were first coming out for WoW, it felt good because you were reliving that leveling experience again, and you were getting another sense of empowering yourself. But now that we have understood and we've had more time to really pick apart every facet of an MMO, we as consumers become very much aware of like, okay, well, this isn't really doing anything. We're just kind of doing the same thing over again with like shiny lights that say, oh, you've empowered yourself, but in reality, you're just trying to meet that next standard because you were pushed down again.
Yeah.
So after a while, if it's done too often, it becomes a bit apparent of what's happening, and it loses
Like
that
a new
sense of
player,
accomplishment.
going into World of Warcraft now, if you don't use the boosts that they give you, if you go from level 1 all the way to whatever level it is now, you have that feeling of progression throughout the whole thing. You never.
You actually miss a lot of content. You miss because
No,
you
in terms
just
of
get
just like
pushed.
player.
Oh
Just
yeah,
as a
yeah,
player.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you get to go. You go to new level area, which is like 1 to 25, and then you go straight to like Battle for Azeroth, right? And then you go to Shadowlands.
The leveling experience does seem to be very much expedited in WoW, but in terms
Oh,
of
it is now.
It has to
But
be,
I-
yeah.
I'm saying,
terms
like,
of the
if you
character
were-
power and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
If you just like went through all the content as it came out originally, and then you would have a a straight line of progression all the way to max level, and you would never have felt that, oh, they're artificially putting me down in order to get back up again.
MMOs are definitely the long game for sure. It's never, they're always bad at the beginning. I don't know.
I was going to say, I don't think that we can discount the biochemical element to it, the behavioral science, the dopamine hits of the arbitrary, shiny, flashy lights. You've done a good thing. Hit the reward button and just keep, tapping that reward button.
I mean, that's life, right? For us now, it's everywhere. That's how a lot of us get through the day. TikToks, all social media. Yeah, exactly.
It's super bad for you. It's incredibly bad.
Yeah.
Or it's great.
Takes more though, because if you keep needing it, you always need to. It's like alcohol, If your resistance you keep drinking, your resistance goes higher, so you need more to get more. Do you know what I mean? So like with those hits, you need to keep doing it consistently. You can only get so much. It's science, people. That's it. That's literally. It's like Fornak said, so true. So like then
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I do this for a living, so yeah, I do. Literally have this conversation almost nearly every day.
I see you, Boots.
Thank you, crew. Thank you.
But
So you can argue that purely from that gameplay reward loop of addicting players to the game, Guild Wars 2 is disadvantaged because it doesn't take advantage of that to the fullest extent.
I think it seeks to do that in other ways through like its actual gameplay experience. I find the gameplay to be very much enjoyable to the point where I always want more and more and more, which is why I have always been very much keyed into balance patches and reworks because I care very much about it. But they also incentivize it through like cosmetics. I think Guild Wars is a very cosmetic heavy game in terms of incentivizing players to come back. Now, do they always hit the mark? Maybe not. In terms of pricing, they do have an in-game cash shop. Does that always hit the mark? I'd say for most people, it's fairly accessible, but there are some products where it's like, oh, that seems a little unattainable, even just by like playing the game to convert gold to gems and all that stuff. But I think Guild Wars 2 tries to do it in other ways, but it's off the beaten path, which is very much a hallmark of Guild Wars 2.
I mean, I think that the gem store actually interrupts that loop quite effectively and undermines the content that's there to a degree. And then we get back to the old argument of how do you fund a service game without a subscription model? And then we're back in the loop. But I think it is probably inarguable that having these type of rewards interrupts or devalues the rewards in game that you can earn, especially considering
it can. Like if you really don't like something on the gem store, you're like, well, that didn't really affect me. But if you really want something, then yeah, it does feel like
yeah. And it's also like not one mount. I'll just say this.
I was literally gonna say that.
Skin. Yeah. Great minds think alike.
Well, and again, like, we're arguing again, like, to a degree, like, what about the vertical progressionness and is that mount skin? I would argue maybe, like, if that was, like, a really powerful thing that you definitely need for all things, like vertical progression, and that conversation we've had many times, and we'll definitely have more of them in terms of, drive to get things at end game. Like, you would expect Guild Wars 2 to be that kind of, epitome of like, you want to get the biggest shiny, get the thing. That's the thing we need to get. I used the wrong word there.
Have you only ever read that word before?
I used the wrong word. There was a different word in my head. It was not that word. It was not the word.
That was one of those moments on those TikToks that it's like, okay. I'll tell you how to pronounce a word.
But my brain is not working very well.
Because
it's just a necromancer and a firebrand. They've made love. They're making an epitome.
I'm just my brain.
AWRY. Whenever I read the word AWRY, I always say Auri for some reason, but it's awry. It's clearly awry.
Auri?
Wait, how do you say it? How do you say it?
Awry.
Epitome?
Oh, epitome.
Oh no, but like, yeah, I just said the word wrong.
Okay, yeah.
No, you were thinking
wait.
the right word. You just pronounced it.
Oh yeah.
Differently.
Sorry, no, I was
Differently.
thinking about. I said it right. Yeah, I said it wrong. Why did I say it like that? Have I always said it like that?
Is it because you're British?
Your
I think
brain,
someone-
your
maybe-
brain projected the word, and you were just reading
I
it
don't
off
know.
the screen in
I've
your
had
brain.
someone say epitome before. I feel like no. We'd say the epitome. We say the epitome.
Leave
as well.
me the fuck out of this.
No, right. No, you're right. Like I just literally said the word wrong.
No, but I like the sound of it though.
Epitome. Wow. Why have I said it like that?
I like the
Maybe
sound of
there's
epitome.
other ways to pronounce it. Maybe we're making fun of you for no reason. Hold on, let's
No.
look this up.
I have pronounced it that way before. Yeah, I think you can. I don't know. Shit.
Are there two
I think
ways
it
to
sounds
pronounce
fun.
epitome?
I
Let's
just like
find
the
out.
word. I think I just
No, they're
have a
not.
preference to the word tome. It just sounds like ancient and mystical, so I like it.
Unless you're speaking it in another language. No, I don't think that there is.
I don't think there is either. I think I may.
No. We
I've
forgive
said
you.
epitome
I
as
forgive
well.
you. I
Oh.
absolve you, my
That's so
son.
It's like
Weird.
caramel and caramel. You know, it's very, very similar.
Oh, I
very
say
easy
caramel.
to.
It's not easy because no one ever says it the way I just said it, though. I appreciate what you're trying to do, Krug. Thank you. But
I think I have
just
once
was-
said it that way.
I mean,
Maybe
I've
when
said
you were a
orgasm
child.
when I'm trying to read organism in a science book, but
everyone's
I
being
think, yeah,
really
if you're-
nice today.
If you're
What
reading,
is happening?
I'm gonna tell you, if you're reading that and you're not like capturing, if you're not like thinking of the context of the phrase you're reading, you're just reading flat out.
Yeah.
You might say epitome.
yeah, like every time I see the word colonel, I go colonel.
Yeah, exactly.
Colonel.
thing is that language is a living, breathing thing.
We've now changed
it moves
And Jebro
Oh,
just
God.
killed it.
Okay.
I've done that a few
No.
times. I am just.
It's a fluid thing.
I'm
That's why
slightly
people who
dyslexic,
get
so I don't.
weird. I am completely dyslexic. I was
Damn it.
diagnosed when I was like 6. Language is a fluid thing. Let's not bust our balls about it. It's fine.
Yeah, but it was a good thing because I was like, I didn't know if I said the right word there for a minute, and I thought I had said the wrong word. Anyway, but you know what I'm trying to say. I think
Yes.
maybe I'm not sure now. But you know, anyway, back to the other things. I'm gonna make myself
Tiny loot is
sound
the
less
zenith
stupid.
of the loot treadmill. Yes.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
that-
it.
Yes.
Exactly. So, do you, with the idea of like, you know, maybe vertical progression adding or taking away from like the value of an MMORPG for a lot of people, because this is a big reason people do turn off of Guild Wars 2, honestly, from what I've heard from various people. It might be different for all of us in terms of, you know, why people might not play Guild Wars 2 anymore. But do you think this is a problem for Guild Wars 2? Do you think vertical not
Yeah.
having it?
I think it does present a problem for a majority of MMO players, I would say, because once again, it's like if you don't have at least some systems where there is vertical progression that feels convenient
Right.
and convenient to interact with, then it is on the player's responsibility. It's like the game throwing it at you, saying, "Well, okay, well, I'm not going to decide for you. You do it." But oftentimes, when you're playing a game, you like to have a little bit more guidance. And I oftentimes think of like the elite specialization system and the way that you actually train your class, because I do appreciate that gear does not become invalidated. But I always sometimes think it's like, oh, I feel like I could have spent a little bit longer mastering my class in a weird way. But I don't, to where
Sure.
they could implement those systems, I'm not exactly sure because I haven't really thought about that
Yeah.
too much. But
Ooh,
I think it does
well,
present some issues.
Well, Kroof, that's gonna be a
Oh.
question.
Oh,
We're
I'm
gonna go
psychic.
there. Sorry, go on, boys.
Yeah. I was just, I think at this point, I mean, they made a conscious decision early on in the game's development that this is how it's going to work. And I think it's too late to do anything about that. But in new expansions, they can add something like Fractals of the Mist again that has its own vertical progression that you don't have to interact with if you don't want to, but you could do if you do.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they could add new systems that have vertical progression, but I don't think they could change the way it currently is.
But would the question mostly like for Boots thinking about like, do you think that the game is able to hold new people to come in? Like, you imagine, like, think about Steam release, for example. or like, you
the
know,
game
just
has a lot to
generally.
offer. I think the game has a ton to offer. I'm sure that there are some people who just can't handle a game that doesn't have constant vertical progression and outlined goals for them.
Because we are human beings, and this is something we need.
Sometimes, yeah.
We do.
Thank you,
and-
Magic 8 Ball.
And
I got the haircut for it. So
and I think for those people,
Shake me.
frankly, just doing the storyline can be that for them.
Yeah.
Because those are clearly defined things that you progress through in the game. The achievements are also things, collections and achievements are also things, but they're not clearly defined. So unless someone gets into the game because they really like it, they might not seek those things out.
Also, as per our definition of like vertical progression, we're kind of stretching it there a little bit.
Exactly. I mean, but no, you asked me about what it currently has as progression in the game.
Oh no, I meant
progression.
like in terms of like, does not having that vertical progression, the typical one, kind of maybe put people off the game, and maybe doesn't mean that players
Right, and
kind
I
of
was
get
and I was just saying that the things that it does have
right, okay,
can cater to those types of people who need vertical progression,
because they can find it.
but they might not be able to like understand that it is attainable goals for them to search for and do, but they might just not really
And
see
they're
it as that.
different, right? Because they're not powerful things. They're more of
Yeah.
like, you know, and maybe that isn't what they want, I guess. But it's weird because MMORPGs appeal to so many different people. So, you know. What about you, Fornox? What do you think? Like, do you think that, you know, because Guild Wars 2 doesn't have that typical kind of vertical progression, do you think it's difficult for them to hold players sometimes?
Yeah, they're fighting it. They're in it. They're in the ring, and they've got one arm tied behind their back. That's it. They've decided something. They've decided an arbitrary thing.
Yep.
And
But
most of the player base, most of the MMO player base, don't understand it.
Yeah, they don't. That's actually very true.
And even for the player base that they have, they do a terrible delivery system of delivering the fantastic content that they have. Half of it's hidden in the interface. The other half is hidden on maps, and they don't tell you about it. I mean,
so yeah.
do they want to make money?
I would say
They
that
probably do.
using the one hand tied behind their back because of horizontal progression rather than vertical progression, that hand is playing a beautiful song on a musical instrument, soothing the people who like the horizontal progression and not having to chase vertical progression all the time.
I was going to say something deeply inappropriate then, but I'm not going to.
Thank you for holding on to
Stroking something else.
That's the Lightbringers, which is going to be
Definitely not
on
their bank manager.
a different,
No.
a different time of the day. Where that show will be on live, because I know it's late for a lot of people, but it's still only 2 p.m. in Pacific Standard Time.
I'll be a good phonics, but no, they really
You'll be
have.
a good. When did that happen? when was there? When were you being a good phonics? I mean,
Dude, I am on my best behavior.
I'm waiting for that
right?
to kick in. Okay,
Fornax
right.
is like, I'm popping a vein. I'm trying my hardest. No,
Yeah,
but
you're
I
always
think,
good. That's true. Yeah,
I think players. I don't know. This is purely speculation.
absolutely.
I would hope that the average gamer, if they were able to get to the end game of Guild Wars 2, I think they would find it rather comforting having the horizontal progression systems that we do have in terms of not invalidating your gear. But it just sometimes feels like the leveling process, in terms of the story, holds your hand quite well, and you know where to go, and you're like fighting this dragon, you have that narrative through line. It goes into the seasons as well, but in terms of the end game content areas that really keep you that keep a community in the game, even with dungeons, it really just lets you go and doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't tell you enough about it or incentivize it enough. And I think if the game just pushed a little bit harder in terms of holding a player's hand for a little bit longer, especially after they reach the final moment of the personal story, players would be able to have that vertical progression. And then as you just organically play, you begin to realize like, whoa, I don't have to spend like hours grinding for this one particular, glove or this pant that I'm missing. And then you're like, oh, I'm at full exotic. I can play every bit of content. And then you get the word of legendary armor and you're like, oh, let me go and do that. So I think there's the foundation there to kind of make a really cool experience, but it just might be a little a little loose fitting right now. Maybe I don't know.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
I think that if there was a proper delivery of what we all thought we were getting this morning, when we were sadly, bitterly disappointed.
Oh, I was like, what were we getting? Right, okay.
No, the morning glory that we all had is that we thought that there might be a raid. A new raid, a new shiny raid with some dungeons. Hooray. Everyone spank your pony to that. But it didn't happen.
I haven't heard that for so long. Oh, God, that's a long... I have not heard that phrase for so long. Wow.
But it didn't happen. And if you look at the success, if you look at the most successful MMOs,
I'm waiting for the analogies of this to come from. Just wait.
Come on.
I'm coming. They're coming into my head. Oh my God! I need to leave. Okay, sorry. Go on.
If you look at the most successful MMOs at the moment, it's Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft. Still, even as it's limping, it's still carrying more players than Guild Wars 2 could ever dream of, which is, of course, fucking gutting, right? Undeserved, I think, to a certain degree, because of the awesomeness of the content in Guild Wars 2, right? But it's because they have the mindset of the gamers is the end game is raids and dungeons and mythic and harder content and challenge modes, right? And you can see Guild Wars 2 slightly moving into that area with the challenge modes, with the strike missions, with that kind of thing, and they're trying to get a cadence up. But if they don't identify these things as raids and say it in gamer language as raids, then they're not going to invite new players in. And they need to have, and I honestly think that they should bring back raiding and introduce new raids with each expansion and have a map and I would be happy for the living world, or whatever they're calling it now, that for one of those, we don't get a new map, we just get a new raid. So that we at least get a raid set with the expansion and then a raid set at midpoint, so that there is that traditional endgame content to invite new players in. That's my personal opinion.
It's difficult, though, because I think, and then Kroof said this a long time ago, it's always stuck on my head of like what the Guild Wars 2 endgame is. And it's just meta. It's meta. Like the meta events of the end game for a lot for the very for the majority of people, the people that engage in the most content, probably World v World as well, honestly, to a degree. It's meta. Like, you know, you go into those maps, like everyone's following that meta around, you know, they're still very alive, like Drizzlewood Coast, still very fun as well when you're hanging out there. And you think about all the bosses, the world bosses as well, like all of that content. And there's just so many people running around doing these things. I'm just like, I don't know, like Guild Wars 2 is a funny beast. I think it doesn't it doesn't cater to the typical MMORPG player, because a lot of people who, you know, when they pass that down through generations, a lot of it is you see the kids like playing World of Warcraft and they just want to get that progression. They've still got that mindset almost. There's a lot of like generational kind of like, oh, typical MMORPG, I level up just in life. Like, you know, as in life, it imitates gaming and all that kind of thing. I get older, I get more powerful. You'd think so. Like it's the opposite. You go back into like, you know, being cared for. But you know, I'm trying to sort of say maybe someone probably does somewhere. Kroof, go on.
I think it's the end game has been the meta events because they've just decided to make a conscious effort to fund that in that direction to do meta events.
Very true.
And if they decided to go the route of dungeons, strike missions, and raids, they could pivot that way. And the one positive about meta maps is that it does assist in maintaining a more casual gaming experience where you don't have to like kind of put too much pressure on yourself. But that's not to say dungeons and raids can't be designed in a way where it is more welcoming and easier. We've seen those systems come into play. But from a longevity perspective, the idea of just having meta maps be the end game content, to me, is very difficult to actually create a community around that.
I agree.
You can't make a lot of content based off of it in terms of YouTube videos, in terms of like shoutcasting. You can shoutcast a meta map? Probably not. That'd be interesting. It's also a very different concept from most other MMOs. Like other MMOs, like World of Warcraft, have open world events, and people do them, but they understand that you become kind of this small drop in a giant ocean of doing this content, to the point where you might be entertained and engaged, but it doesn't really require the same amount of like keying into the gameplay mechanics as something like a dungeon or a raid will do. So I think there are benefits.
Special, I guess.
Yeah, there are benefits to open world, as that being the end game, the more consistent end game content. But I don't know if it has necessarily served Guild Wars 2 in the way that it deserves to be served in terms of increasing player retention and getting more players in the game.
Because raids were a huge draw. I mean, Heart of Thorns was a big... I mean, their player base must have... I'd love to know numbers, but I think Heart of Thorns was really the big turning point. I think if they didn't bring in raids then, I actually think the game could have gone a completely different way.
It would have dropped faster than it did. Thankfully, the meta events were also like, that was the first time we had such satisfying meta events. But I think raids definitely helped bolster a community that was looking for it. But they also forgot to implement other systems like looking for group finder that actually like allows you to play that, and embolden systems so that you have an easier time going into it, which they have now recently been correcting.
True. Okay.
But to say that it helps because those raids are not invalidated, which is cool, because that's the benefit of having a horizontal progression system, is that they can go back and make these changes, and it will still have lingering effects.
Yeah, because you need legendary armor as well. Like, that's still the best thing you can get.
I would like to say that I sound like I want Guild Wars 2 to be just another traditional MMO, and I don't. What I want it to be is a successful MMO that can capture enough players to change the zeitgeist, to actually be able to implement the kind of interesting, novel events and show players, look, raids are great, but this big map thing, this thing where you work together, this is amazing. This is a real, like, guild community driven thing, and it's awesome, but you have to have bums on seats in order to show them the way.
Yeah, this is
and they don't have that at the moment.
This is kind of why I had the podcast in the first place, because it's like I was watching that video from Peon and I was just like, I mean, he has a massive audience and he's just said this to 100,000 plus people. And people watch, him for a reason, that's a big opinion to pass on to people. So if people have these opinions generally, like, and I'm not saying this like the only opinion at all. It's not, of course it's not. But like, it is interesting, like you say, we do want it to be in a place, like you say, which is very, just doing better because it deserves it, It
This is how you do
does.
it. You ready? This is how you do it.
All right, I'm going to be right back in 2 seconds because there's someone on my door.
1.
Okay.
Not 2, maybe a minute.
Oh.
Keep talking.
A minute?
Oh.
Okay, well, let's just sit in silence for a minute.
The sound of silence.
No, I was going to say, this is how you do it. You ready? So, I don't think you could implement WoW-like progression into Guild Wars 2 and get away with it at this point. However, what can you give to players who require that kind of like thing to chase?
Touching grass. That was impulsive.
Okay. Yeah. What can you give to them that they desire, not what they need, what they desire, in order to, get those kinds of people excited and staying in Guild Wars 2? Well, let me tell you. You make an app, a Guild Wars 2 app, that is polymock, that's tied into your Guild Wars 2 account, where all your mini pets are the things you collect for the polymock battles.
Oh no.
And then you get them to chase collecting all the miniatures, and then you add shinies to each miniature that are rare drops. That'll get them hooked forever. They will never stop.
I have 2 a genius idea.
Okay. All right. Go
Would you
for
like
it.
to hear my genius
I'm ready.
idea?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Are you ready? You sat down?
No, I'm not sitting.
You're not
This
sitting.
is underneath me,
squatting.
right?
Crouching.
I'm in a
I have a very
squat.
low floor. Um,
I thought you were doing your crouching tiger, hidden dragon kind of like dog stance or something.
no, I just have like there's a hole right over here, and I'm standing on my tippy toes actually for this camera. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, just prepare yourself then. Okay. So,
All right.
hear me out. Boob slider.
Oh, and then wait a second. And then as you gain experience in the game, your boobs get bigger.
Bigger and bigger, and then
They like to see
at
it
the
jiggle,
point that
jiggle.
your nipples are just gonna fly off, you are the king.
New engineers back.
Wow.
Fembot.
I mean, I don't know which one's better.
I like the hands. I like the...
Yeah.
Are those nipples?
No, it's the new NG spec, the Fembot. It's you got metal, you got tickle bitties, and they fire out bullets like the Mechanist.
Oh, like in
wait,
Austin
Mexican,
Powers.
exactly Mexican, but big breasts. I think that'll
This will-
really get the mark. That'll get the demographic that Guild Wars 2 needs.
I'm telling you, that bums on seats, people. Bums on seats.
bum slider.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I want to see it jiggle, jiggle. It
So now I would
folds.
just like to point out that this was probably the greatest interlude with the Jebro gun that we've ever done.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this is the best cats away segment we've ever had.
Deborah, we solved the problems with Guild Wars
have.
2. We
solved it.
like a developer came in, we signed a contract, we sold these ideas for $50,000 because they thought it was so valuable. They're like, yes, we need to have the copy, we need to have the patent on this.
And no one is telling you what we talked about. You're gonna have to watch the podcast.
Damn it, I don't want to watch the podcast. I've got to put the chapters in, so I will be doing that later. Chapters are
Goddamn.
they're a lot of work sometimes. I've gone more minimal with that now because sometimes it's an interesting. I don't think I'm going to do it for this episode, but we'll see. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, I've got maintenance people and stuff coming in. Okay, cool. We've done that. We've kind of done what does Guild Wars 2 do as vertical progression. I think this is going to be a fairly long bit, so I think this might be the one. This is going to be a thing. Okay. So Guild Wars 2 doesn't have that typical kind of. We kind of had this conversation already. How would Guild Wars 2 implement? Where could they have more vertical progression systems? Like where could they have these?
Oh,
things?
we
What
no,
could
we
they
did.
look
We
like?
just did that while you were gone.
You
Yeah.
just did that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We
Outro.
literally,
Let's go. I don't care. That's all right. Did you?
Yeah, we did.
A few suggestions. I mean, yeah.
I mean, we could spitball a couple other ideas because we're like a cornucopia, a cacophony of ideas.
You did
know?
it in 5 minutes?
Yeah, this is what happens when you don't have like dissent. We all agreed.
Oh. But it's
Actually,
ideas.
Reader Geek makes a very good point that Fornax's idea is more like horizontal progression.
What was that?
Literally.
It has
And
the potential to be, yes.
It has
and
some
I
sliders.
feel like if we wanted to implement it as vertical progression, it could just literally be your character grows in size as you level up, and then it could be like Attack on Titan. The more powerful people are like,
And the more rage you do, the higher heals you get.
No, but so
Yeah.
so you max out the one slider to unlock the other sliders.
Oh,
saying.
the new mastery system
Yeah.
is sliders. Ah, I see.
yeah,
Okay, I can get with
tasty,
that.
tasty sliders.
Tasty
Now, is there
sliders.
equal opportunity package deals? You know, because we
I
got
mean,
the
you'd
new
have to think.
we got the new jump store skin with the chainmail pants.
I think there's a danger of exposure, and I don't know how you do the vulva slider. I don't know how that would work.
Harold has been good today. By the way.
I was talking about UPS packages. Okay. Jebro's gonna have a fun time watching this back. But in terms of things that they could add, Other than everything, the brilliant ideas that we just talked about.
Fornax's fault.
I-
Fired.
I can't see them adding any more gear in terms of stats, and I think that's kind of a good thing because the balance team is already doing that in terms of power creep.
Oh!
No, I mean,
That is the vertical progression. It comes from the balance team.
you just wait for the balance patch because at that point every class is getting buffed.
Harold
I
has
mean,
got a
I'm not wrong.
I mean, yeah, no, you're not.
Literally,
You're
like
not.
plus percentages. Anyways, power coefficients. Just look at the notes. But in terms of, I love that GW2 doesn't have a geared treadmill. I think it is very comforting knowing that you can pick up the game whenever you want and not feel like you have to then go on this long grind. But in terms of if they're not going to have a geared treadmill, I think, as we talked about before, the cosmetics, they have to be there. You have to have a variety of alluring items for people to say, that shows that you accomplished something.
Yeah.
Potentially somewhat difficult, or at least more so time consuming to have like that level of like, oh, look at me. And so have a little bit of difficulty, variety, and
That's like a Boston accent there.
so like no, like Boston cream pie.
Was
like
that a good
mounts.
Boston accent?
I don't know. Like, the concept of mounts is always something that we kind of talk about. We are seeing these Jadebot minis come in the game as well.
Oh, yeah, true.
So yeah, I think there's a couple things. Skiff skins, gliders. We see infusions, but I don't know if infusions really speak to the masses as like other things do, because infusions are essentially just like visual auras that are maybe sometimes a little messy. I don't know.
They do
Sometimes
have
they work.
stats on them as well.
That is true. That is true. Very true.
And that was their kind of
yeah.
mini attempt at extending that more, right? You know, there was
Just like very small.
yeah,
updates.
the tiny, like not enough to be like, oh, your gear isn't like invalidated completely, but you can have this option of having this thing, but everything's probably based more off of exotic stats than legendary / ascended maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm playing New World at the moment, and the big hook for me is still leveling, and it's still getting my vertical progression in. But you know, with crafting, because crafting is the vertical progression. I guess it's really like a lot of effort, like to get that going. But the thing is, the vertical progression is also the power, because your power increases by you get to max level. And then you play content to get gems or stones or whatever they're called, and orbs and stuff, so you can power up your gear to get your gear score up. So it's like that gear score part, which like World of Warcraft has, obviously. But I don't know if they're going to go higher level. We're at such an early start of what New World. I don't know how far it's going to go, but I really, really just adore that new level kind of leveling. If you need to go and do something for a second boots, it's fine. I just saw a pop-up of something. I'm not sure what it was. I'm just assuming that. And just make sure you close that door. Okay, fine, don't.
Emergency puppy break. Yeah.
Oh,
He
okay.
said, I gotta get the chips away from the dog.
Oh, okay. Just give the chips to the dog. There's a couple. But yeah, I just love that leveling experience. It makes me really want to play other games like Final Fantasy 14 and other games where you can start leveling up past that and explore new things and think about getting completely new gear set, you know, stats changing, just features of the game generally. It kind of really gets me wanting to do that, because I think Guild Wars 2, like, think about when you play an expansion of Guild Wars 2, right? We want to level that mastery. You don't really stick to it for that long. They don't really stick to the maps for that long, do it? Kind of like, I mean, for content, it's a bit different for us because we create content around it. But like generally, I noticed that I don't stick around for too long, other than if I'm doing that specific thing. I know I'll still go back to what I needed to do before, like legendary weapons or and it helps when they do that with legendary weapons like Arena, because you have to go into those maps. That's good. But I don't know, I don't really stick around as much, and I end up just going back to like PvP and other stuff as well anyway. And I guess you kind of do that in other MMOs, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe the mastery system just fell a little flat, especially
maybe.
I've replayed on my fresh Steam account, and all I needed to do was get a couple of those masteries to actually progress in the story. And now that I'm done with Heart of Thorns, I don't ever need to actually complete those masteries. Unless I want to do raids for ley line gliding. But other than that, there isn't much of a reason to like really go after it. I mean, it's nice, but sometimes they feel so small that it's not really worth it. And some of those masteries are a little bit more of a dud, and they feel more of just like a gate to get to the masteries that you really want, like ley line gliding. And there are quite a few masteries now. So
True.
it's like you have a lot to do if you want to do it. But I don't know. It kind of operates with the notion that you'll always be playing and always be leveling up.
Yeah.
And it's not super difficult to actually like do it. But like if there's nothing else to do, are you going to be leveling those masteries to the point where you kind of like key into it? I don't know.
You're just not finding it like a compelling enough reward at the end of the line.
Yeah. I had to reach a couple masteries because the game needs you to get that before you progress the story. Like in Path of Fire, you have to get your Raptor, your Springer, and your Skimmer. But after that, you technically don't need the Jackal, you don't need the Griffin, you don't need any of the other mounts. Though some people would say that it still is extremely alluring with the mounts, and it is. But especially with Heart of Thorns, a lot of those were just like, you can now talk to a vendor. And then the next one is like, you can now purchase a special item from that vendor. Or it's like, that could have just been like one mastery to get like the language mastery over with, but
Being
they
really
didn't feel-
disappointed with
yeah.
that mastery as well. I
Yeah,
have
and
to agree with you.
it could have been a lot more in terms of like finding hidden locations, getting quest lines. By understanding the language, you then are able to go and help these regions and get cool storylines from that. But yeah, it just didn't feel as fully fleshed out as maybe we originally thought the mastery system was going to be. But is
I
there?
agree. I definitely thought that there was going to be story and lore hooks in with these, especially because they kind of phrased it as language rather than like a simple reputation grind. Basically, is what it is. What it feels like to me. A reputation grind by another name.
Yes. And
That
I
was
did
a
play.
big part of vertical progression as well, actually. Sorry.
Grinded
Go.
Yeah, it
It
absolutely.
really
Yeah.
was. Oh my
The masteries
god.
could have been like reputation grinds if they wanted them to be. But I did actually play through Heart of Thorns recently, and it is really funny. I don't even know if I actually caught on to this when I was first playing Heart of Thorns. If you don't have your Itzel mastery trained, the local Itzel, they don't pop up speech bubbles where they actually talk to each other. It's just like, it's like really cool.
I
So you like
remember,
actually
yeah.
can't hear them. But if you go up and talk to them, it's English, and you can totally understand them. So
Just
it's a
like
little
that-
like
that
it
one
wasn't fully committed to it. So
They didn't, did they? Because I think it was going to be like,
No.
it felt like it was going to be like a really big part of it. Like, you know, going into this
Yeah.
brand new place where you don't understand the language and you're trying to communicate in different ways and you have to learn the language. And it was like, well, you just level up mastery. Like, it's not really a quest line. Which I think, you know, it's really interesting how and this is a little bit off topic, but it's kind of in line a little tiny bit. It's like a sidestep. And we've talked about it before, like the typical kind of quest people in the world, the quest givers, as being synonymous with like, you know, an MMORPG. And like what that, you know, when they're not there, what happens? Like how do people know where to go and what to do? Which is something we've always talked about. And that is a way of progressing you through the game. So even just like, you know, that language and communication is very difficult. So, you know, even if that's not inherently obvious from the beginning, it's difficult to progress in a game which doesn't really have that design in mind. It just doesn't, right? Like it doesn't have the design in mind for vertical progression because of what Boots said and what earlier as well, like being a little bit more theme parky. It's not theme park specific, but like it's theme park-esque because you still have to kind of go certain route.
At least with theme parks, like, you have to wait in lines to get to the big event. Because if you just went into a theme park with no lines, you just hop on, like, all of the rides, and then you'd be done in an hour, and you go, well, that was it.
Yeah, that's the shit theme park right there.
Which is kind of like yours too, because there aren't many lines, there aren't many like things.
What?
That's the analogy I was making.
You just called Guild Wars 2 a shit theme park.
No, I was making an analogy that like Guild Wars 2 is a theme park that doesn't have many lines to it. Like you're not
So it's
really.
like an unpopular theme park.
But you just
No, it's
that
a
was
theme park
bad
that's like
theme
really
park.
fun, but like it respects you so much that like you can get on the rides and get off, and then just be like, okay, well I did everything and it's only been an hour. I guess I'll go home.
That's the new episode now. Lightbringers episode 33.
I think it's a fair analogy to me.
A shit theme park.
Honestly, new YouTube video that'll get a lot of clicks.
It would. It actually would. It's very clickbaity.
Did you guys
we're not really
mention the Jebro while he was, because he came back while I was gone? Did you mention the idea of vertical progression as a Pokemon game within Guild Wars 2?
Oh, I forgot you mentioned that.
Thingy mock thing, polymorph.
Yeah, the Polymorph.
Polymorph, but like as an additional Pokemon kind of got to catch them all thing.
Do like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be in for that. You know, I mean, I think it's one way of like always trying to progress your character and power, like per expansion and stuff. You know, keep going.
Gotta get the shinies.
Yeah, I know. I do think in Conquest it wouldn't work. In Conquest you can't really have vertical. I don't know what happened there. In Conquest you can't have vertical progression. It just doesn't work.
Song.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you did the loud bit quite a bit loud.
Sorry.
But like vertical progression won't work in Conquest, so you can kind of kick that out of there because it's just competitive. World v World, there is again, it's more of a mastery kind of. You do get power off of the World v World ranks to a degree, but it is that, isn't it? That's where Guild Wars 2's vertical progression is. Very tiny increments to the point where it doesn't feel like it's actually that important.
And also, like, it's very incremental, and the difference between there's so many different options, and it's all like different siege weapons you can use. Like you're not going to use all the siege weapons at once, so it's choices. It's horizontal
and like looting and stuff like that. Yeah, very true. Amounts and stuff.
I think with competitive modes, it relies more so on the population being large and expansive with a variety of skill sets, because then you could look at climbing the ranks as like a vertical progression system where you are testing your metal, getting better, getting thrown back, and like it's kind of this. It's not
a vertical.
It is a vertical progression in terms of climbing, which is a lot of competitive game modes innately. Like there aren't many competitive game modes where like
but you can't say like an MMR rank climb is vertical progression. It's you could go down in rank. You can't go down in.
Well, it's literally vertical. You're only going up and down, so in essence, it literally is vertical. But
I mean,
you can't have.
I think that's again one of those things is why we designed vertical progression at the beginning of the show, is because
it is innately different.
I think
we're not going to have the same
it.
conversation about PvE with PvP, so we have to just innately change the mindset.
Anyway, but the more important thing about not World vs. World, but in PvP, structured PvP, is it's designed specifically, even more so than the rest of the game, to not have vertical progression in it, because they want everybody to be on the same.
I mean, it has its own context, which is what kind of Kroof is saying. I think is the context of vertical progression in PvP is a rank system to a degree, if you would even call it that. But that makes sense. But you don't agree. Okay, fair enough.
Rank systems, they give you like the notoriety, the esteem. It's very similar to like seeing someone complete a dungeon or like a hard raid.
When did you ever look at someone's PvP rank, like if they're rank 300 or whatever? No, I'm at one. Anyway, the point is,
nobody looks at
someone's
like
PvP rank and is like,
no. We're talking about
person.
They're talking
about
in
Guild Wars too. But if I look at an Overwatch, I'm like, oh, you're top 10. Wow.
But you're thinking of MMR rank. I'm talking about like
MMR. Yeah. No,
you're because you level up also.
No, I'm not talking about about PvP rank. I'm talking about
Because
like.
that is
rank
the
doesn't even
only
make
possible
sense.
thing you could think of as a vertical progression.
No.
Because you gain
I'm talking about, like-
experience and you evolve.
No, I'm
and you
talking about
get
like the
you
different
get-
tiers of like your
Oh
bronze.
yeah, like your
like,
platinum
that's-
or whatever. But again, I don't think that's vertical progression. That's just like your
That's
skill.
the only. But it's the only way of showing kind of a mastery and a dedication of the
Yeah.
game mode in a way.
I guess,
Like,
but you
they
could
wouldn't
get
make it
platinum.
unfair.
Yeah, I guess. I don't
Did you
call
think
that.
I was talking? You,
No.
talking
I
about
thought.
your
I
rank
knew you. I
125.
knew you were always talking about about MMR stuff. I thought that Jebro, when he was saying
No, we're just
rank,
talking
I
about
thought he was talking
thing.
about rank.
Oh.
But again, that's not vertical progression. That's not what this. That's not. No.
Well, I mean, I think a competitive game mode that has vertical progression in the way that PvE does is a game destined to fail because it creates an unbalanced system that is hard to kind of get into.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's done well here. I mean,
That's kind of the
WoW.
standard with competitive games.
WoW has vertical progression in their
It
PvP.
used to more often,
used
and they
to,
got rid of
yeah.
it, and they kind of are bringing it back a little bit. I heard, but
Oh
not.
boy.
I think they'll probably play it safe with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So in PvE wise, like so we know that the standard thing, I guess they could insert into Guild Wars 2 if they wanted to just add vertical progression. Next expansion, add 10 extra levels, go to 90. Would that work? Would people be happy
Well,
with
then
that?
it's like power creep. Are you gonna squish the stats?
Well,
Is it
you
just gonna be this
get
artificial number?
the game already has in it. It's already designed where you get scaled down on lower maps, so they could still scale you down on all the content that's currently in the game.
That
Although
doesn't really work.
It doesn't really work.
Yeah, if they wanted to do that, sure, but they have to look at their scaling system again because even right now, you go into low-level zones and you one-hit things.
Well, but that's also because not just because of scaling, but also the things you like. If you're in a
Specs.
low-level zone, first of all, if you're in a low-level zone and you're level 2, you're still gonna be one-hitting things pretty much.
because of the balance patch.
Yeah,
Balance power creep.
the core game is not hard when you're leveling up. And especially not hard when you have all the tools available to you at a higher level and going back into lower zones. You are scaled properly, probably, but you have more tools at your disposal to kill things.
And the game has just been balanced over the years, and then the scaling hasn't been corrected for that. So like, your coefficients on all your abilities are so much higher now.
Yeah.
So Final Fantasy deals with this by having skills linked to level, so that when you go back and you do content that is lower level, you get scaled down and you get your skills lopped off. You can't use them.
Interesting.
World of Warcraft deals with the scaling system because they again copied that wholesale out of Guild Wars 2. What happens is, as you are leveling, if you're not max level, then all the content in the world scales to your level.
Yeah. Which I kind of would like that for Guild Wars too.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But when you hit max level and gaining experience no longer matters, everything reverts back to its original state. So you can still go through and smash through old content and wipe out maps and do rep grinds super quickly for old content because you can still out-level it. So it's an interesting balance. So I guess it's pick your poison.
Yeah, they specifically, when they were designing Guild Wars 2, and like a lot of their marketing was around the concept of always being able to play with your friends without invalidating the content.
Yeah.
So they're like a level 80 could go back and play with a level 20, and they'd still have the same difficulty level. That was 2012 balance. This is now balance. So it still is. It's very, very fast, and in a way, it's sadly. You know, when you are marketing your game off of that, it would be great if that content still holds that same level of interest and engagement. But as we've seen, it really is extremely easy to clear through it to the point where it's like, yeah, just go to the current content now.
I mean, gamers have been trained to seek rewards. They've been trained by every game that if your time is
as well.
It's true. If your time is not going to be rewarded, if you're not going to be remunerated for your effort, then why would you do it? Yeah. And that is a lot of the
Yeah, so
that's
true.
a lot of the game. That's a lot of the mindset. Now, I'm not saying that I have that mindset because I play for very different reasons to
But you
why
still
Chris
play
plays.
to be for a goal to get some kind of good feeling, right? Which is its own reward. You don't play
Yeah.
it because hate it.
Self-hate.
You play for
No,
it.
no.
I mean, some people do. I play League of Legends. I can't imagine that being anything but self-hate. But that's a joke, everyone.
Why I play a lot of video games is it's probably a topic for your mental health podcast because I'm a disabled person, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it's pick your poison, and also, I feel like the things that I like to do to kind of chill out is play the story and go back and bash up old content to have a solo play arc, and I think that is an element that is missing from Guild Wars 2. The solo ability, mindless kind of running around, doing things, collecting old stuff, that kind of, and it's not necessarily the majority of players have that, but I think that I know that I like that, and I don't think that I'm the only person who does that.
No.
So I think that there is an element of games. Because I watched a semi-documentary about how MMOs are also how developers are trying to gear MMOs not just for people who are looking for group content, but for people who are looking for solo play.
They're changing
Solo
it,
play with caveats. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
Final Fantasy, you can basically play it as a solo game apart from the instances. You don't necessarily need to be in a group at all. And they've got a grouping system, a mechanical system that throws you into a party with other people. You do the bit that you need to do, and then you piss off, and you're on your way again. And you can. It respects your time enough that you don't have to find groups all the time. And I don't think that Guild Wars 2 has that capacity.
I mean, for solo, I think no. I mean, I know you to get certain goals maybe, but I think you can play.
Yeah, I'm talking about like for sort of like jumping into raids and dungeons and that kind of thing. You can do the story all by yourself.
Right. Yeah. You mean like an LFG for that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Absolutely.
That would probably help. But in terms of, I also think like having more structured quest lines and things for players to go after would be nice. And we've seen them do that with End of Dragons more so. And there's actually like 3 or 4 quests that I still haven't completed, but I have them marked to like do them at some point. But then also it's like, what are those rewards? And for now, it's just AP, which is nice. It does help.
Yeah, they're going to hover there, aren't they? Yeah.
So they're just going to kind of like be there.
There's no emergency.
Because it's not like I'm going to get a cool cape skin from it, or I'm not going to get like a weapon skin from it or something like that. So
It's just a number that doesn't actually mean anything other than an overall reward, which is a kind of not great weapon skin.
I think it'd be cool if they entertained and utilized that and continue to utilize that in the way that they are in End of Dragons. And it might actually be what they do, because it seems like they might be treating this next content update a bit differently than normal seasons. I mean, they mentioned at least 1 new map, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they kind of pulled from Icebrute Saga and reutilized other maps as well. And maybe you could go and expand the story of those zones and flesh it out more.
Yeah. I think that might be another podcast. Definitely, for sure. Like, where does Guild Wars 2 go next with Living World? Oh, actually, it could be next one.
I just think that if they want people to, they have to give people more rewards. So, and this is where we come to it's a great game if you love to fashion wars and collect shinies and collect weapons and do lucks. And it's also a terrible game if you want to collect shinies and do that, because they've locked the ability to change the appearance of your character behind an arbitrary currency. And I don't understand why they would do that, because it just hobbles players' ability to enjoy all the content that they've created in this they've got such a heavy focus on the aesthetic of the game, and then to lock it off behind a paywall, basically. I think that's one of the bugbears that...
What behind a paywall?
It almost kicked me out of the game. I was... Transportation charges.
Oh. Or at least a more accessible, like maybe quests give you 2 transportation charges or something. So at least make it more accessible for PvE play. I actually agree with you on that. Like, I used to be very, I'd struggle with getting transmutation charges.
Yeah. So they throw them in some content. They throw it at people so that they've just got more transmutation charges than they know what to do with. And I don't understand why. Yeah, I don't understand why some content is privileged and some content is impoverished for this. If they want parity of love across the game types,
They just want you to PvP, Phoenix.
I think they want me to put my hand in
what
it.
you
Who
said.
wants to PvP?
Not even the PvPers at the moment. Boom.
Map completion. You can do map completion.
Yeah, you gotta keep doing map
What is like a
completion.
chance
You
of
get
getting
like
him?
one.
No. It's
You
a
get-
100%
Oh, you get
chance.
the chance of the key.
Don't you
It's
get
100
one?
It's 100% chance of getting one each time you do. I mean, the what's it called? Maps are very easy to do. The all of the city maps. You just make a character, go to the 5 original cities, and go boop boop boop
Yay,
boop boop.
you get 5
really
transmutation
boring, though.
charges for doing like an hour or two of walking
Well,
around.
if that's what you
That is not a
want.
gameplay. That is not an appealing.
No,
gameplay
like
loop
actual
for me.
quest lines.
Alright,
Like you
okay.
pick up a quest from Itzel and you have to go to the treetop and kill like a wyvern or something. That's like an elite.
I know. Why don't we just get rid
Yeah.
of them and let people just like change their characters when they want to? Because it's fun.
Or
don't
that
know.
too. Or have it a gold cost.
Yes, gold cost.
Oh my god,
They said
no.
remove the gold
Gold.
cost, remove the
Well, there is a
honestly,
gold cost.
and then you gold cost.
There is a gold cost.
Not with transmutation charges.
Yeah, there is. You can buy them on the gem store,
Oh my
right? So you just transfer gold to
God.
gems.
Oh my god.
What is vertical progression? That is the question.
I'd be down for a gold cost instead, and then quests could give you gold
No.
or silver.
I like the transmutation charges. I've got 2,000.
Hairdresser.
Because you PvP. If you didn't PvP, you wouldn't be singing the same tune now, would you?
It's true.
But I also
Or-
have legendary armor, so it's free.
Or you can, or they could have just, well, yeah, there you go. But they could have they could offer items which give you permanent, a quest line, like you said, but unlock a permanent thing which just allows you to do that
Towards
all the time.
mastery.
Yeah.
Sold.
That's called
sold.
Leggy
Okay.
armor.
I
I think transmutation charges actually still have a lot of value in terms of disposable currency, but it's just I agree in PvE it doesn't feel like it is
Should be wasted.
attainable.
Yeah, it's weird because
To the degree
literally
that it should.
people say fashion wars and everything else, and it's maybe we should do maybe it could be a question someone could pitch to us. How do you get your transmutation charges? No.
Because I think you just get them from map completion in PvE.
Map completion, yeah. So, but I mean, it's always a good
Also,
reward. Like
daily
if you like
login.
transmutation charges,
Daily login,
you
yeah.
either get that or a key, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Also, hairdressing. Why? Why don't we have a hairdresser in game? I mean, there
You
are
do.
little
It's
things
just
that just
an
irritate me.
it just costs 1,500
No.
gold.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, you
There-
can get
there
them
are
from the
some
Black
things that
Lion
shouldn't be on
chest
the gem
merchants.
store.
There you go.
Yeah.
Statuettes, you can get your transmutation charges. The Dragon Bash merchants.
Candy corn
are ones from
vendor.
there, Yeah. Gem
So
store.
you have only limited opportunities to get them.
Yeah, New Year's rewards. Skirmish chests. There you go. Do
They
some
say
more.
you better wait for festivals.
Super adventure box. Winter's Day's coming up. Trader, get your
Login
transmutation
rewards.
charges.
You just login rewards as well, right?
Yeah, login rewards, they give you some decent overtime, but you have to wait till the end of the week. Rather PvP, it's like you get thousands of them from actually just playing the content.
Oh yeah, you get them in nearly every chest. Almost, or every other one. It's pretty frequent.
Sorry.
I know what
Sorry
you mean.
for derailing. I think that if they want a progression system of some capacity, then it should be a progression system in line with their values. So therefore, have armor sets, have weapon skins, have titles, have emotes linked to content, which is pretty much what they're doing.
They started to,
I
yeah.
get-
That's
yeah.
good. But they don't do them that often. They didn't do any, I don't think, in End of Dragons. No, they didn't actually. Not one
Activities? Oh no, emotes.
Not one emote. It was for the other story they did it for. I don't think they did they? That's weird. Actually, I didn't think about that.
No,
Still
I think
waiting
they-
for a high five
Didn't they
emote.
do a rock paper scissors emote?
They did, yeah.
That wasn't
Wasn't
for...
that in End of Dragons?
No, I think that was Icebreed Saga, wasn't it?
It was around that time.
Might have been, yeah.
I'm forgetting. I'm gonna look it up.
Because they did the Shiver, they did the Play
It was like the
Beds.
Jorah Marches or something.
And
Or
they
the
did
one
the
before that,
stretch.
Sophomore Valley.
The
Stretch.
pervy stretch. Yeah.
Because you can get them in
No,
PvP
no,
as
it's
well.
Ender Dragons.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait,
I
where
remember.
did you get that from?
Ender Dragons. You get the scissors from the Deepest Secrets chapter. It's a choice, so you get choice.
By the end, you get all three.
Incremental. Yeah.
Right, it was. Oh, interesting.
Investigative journalism coming to the aid
Well
of
done.
this podcast.
Well done, researchers.
Which ones do I still need? I need a high five emote. I need a apologize emote. I don't think there's an apologize, right?
I want
What
like
do
a
you-
toil emote.
Because in World versus World, when I do something that I feel that I regret or that I feel like I did something wrong to someone and I hit them or hurt them too much, in World versus World, if you kill somebody who's not a very good player, you feel bad because you're like, oh, I was.
So you
too,
basically want
know.
an emote to BM them.
No, to apologize. To apologize.
Just cry. Just do /cry.
Cry could mean a lot of things.
Good.
I mean, but like,
yeah.
also the idea of saying sorry could also twist to something bad too.
Absolutely, yeah. Any emote, it doesn't matter.
Why are you apologizing? You're in a game mode. You should kill them freely. Honestly,
be-
showing sympathy is much more worse than saying.
I'm Canadian.
Like,
I
well,
need an apologize.
Oh damn.
That's true,
Agree.
actually. Maybe the
Agree.
Canadian flag should just come up above your head, like
Yeah.
like the WTS flags from the different
People don't like
regions.
being having sympathy thrown on them when they die. So
Sure.
People who are dead don't like.
yeah, I'm a psychic.
Okay.
My part-time job.
Yes, this is super. We see the world not how it is,
Don't know
but
where we're
how
going
we
with
are.
this now,
This
people.
is just yeah.
We've gone way off topic. I think that's the end of the podcast. I think we've hit the end of the.
We've hit the cap, which is what also vertical progression games hit eventually. You could only gear so much.
True.
See, I'm looping this into the
Good
topic.
job. I like that.
It is actually nice to actually get to the top. You've got everything that you're done. You're done until the next expansion, or you're done until the next content arrives. It's a nice feeling. It's a relaxing feeling. Then you can jump onto alts. It's an alt-friendly feeling.
Just why I like
True.
edgy armor.
I guess that's why Guild Wars 2 people have so many alts as well, I guess, to a degree. Because it is easy. And then you can just get a character to be much higher level.
Right.
Thank you, Boots. Thank you for closing the door. And oh dear.
We had a situation a couple of podcasts ago.
We might talk about that right now. You could maybe you can talk about that in the chat with each other. That's up to Boots. Anyway.
What was I saying?
I don't know.
What were we talking about?
We're going. That's what we're doing.
Oh yeah, we're done. Okay, good.
I'm so lost. I'm very
Just-
confused.
Okay. So
Interesting topic. Love this one.
it is. Yes, it was. I think this was a very good, interesting topic. This topic specifically is always one of those interesting ones where it's not really something we've talked about. We've kind of played with a little bit, being like, what would it feel like, but never really thinking about having that system in Guild Wars 2. It's almost very hard to imagine. With the ethos of the company, I think, and just generally how they would like everyone to be a little bit more equal in power, specifically. And if you think about, the story and the dev team and, their general belief systems as well, there's that idea, having everyone equal and just being able to kind of focus on different areas of the game that you want to focus on without feeling like you don't feel empowered in some kind of way is kind of how ArenaNet operate, I feel like, in many different respects. So it makes sense.
I still think they need raids. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean that they don't need raids. Raids are still done
Hey,
very
did you
well.
hear? We may or may not be getting a Guild Wars 3.
There might be some unannounced projects.
We know that. We've known
Are
that for a while.
probably.
I know, but apparently there's a it's on Reddit. Hold on, I'll find it.
Is it a
I think
posting?
It's a post. Yeah, it's a job posting, but it's like much more obviously not just a game, but it's more obviously another MMO.
No, I think this is still the same project. I don't think it's not Dune. Or it might be Dune. It's something else.
I
It's
don't
like
know.
Whispers in the Wind.
Skill deck style combat system.
Yeah, I think
what's
it's
it
the
say?
other thing. It's the other project that they're working on, which
Link it.
Oh yeah, it
I
is.
think there were. No, but I don't know if it's Guild Wars 3. I don't think it. I think it's.
Yeah.
There were already Whispers in the Wind. That was something else.
Well, they've got another expansion coming, which have already been started. Well, they must have
was
started
it?
by now.
What was it? Some company asked NC Soft to develop an MMO for them, and I'm forgetting which IP it is. I don't know if it's Dune, or if it's something else.
We have a bold vision for a next generation MMO. Oh, I mean that line. Oops is absolutely on it with this. Like, this is a combat designer,
Sony.
unannounced project.
Horizon Zero Dawn. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
They were working
Horizon
on a
Zero Dawn does
Dune.
not have a skill deck style combat system.
Skill deck.
Skill deck, like Guild Wars 1 you have a bunch of different skills. And
Oh
you pick.
no!
Well, if you create, I think there's a lot.
I
of
mean, so
opportunities for
Guild
that.
Wars 2 is also a skill deck based combat system.
Yeah, it's probably Horizon. It's probably the Horizon MMO.
That's wait, really?
Yeah, I think Sony contracted NC Soft to develop a Horizon MMO, and maybe ArenaNet's working on it. I don't know. Nothing's confirmed. This is all just speculation that I'm
would
But
hearing.
play
online.
NC Soft have got their MMO coming out, haven't they?
Yeah. I would definitely play
Which
a
looks
Horizon
good.
Zero Dawn MMO. That sounds like
There
fun.
was.
I've never
some
played
fun one.
Horizon, so I'd be down.
It's a
I
good
wonder
game.
what.
Did you guys
skill
play
deck-
Runeterra MMO?
Rune
Oh,
Terror.
isn't that like the League of Legends
Yeah.
MMO that's coming out?
Yeah.
Well, Runeterra is the card game of
Yeah.
League of Legends, yeah. And well,
Runeterra
Magic,
is the world, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, what the when you said the skill deck system, I don't know if you ever played. What was it? Was it the Magic the Gathering MMO?
You know what? I
Isometric
would play a
game.
Runeterra MMO, especially with the with Arcane coming out. That was a good show, and I feel like
Well, there's the
Yeah.
Riot, yeah. There's the League. The League
I mean,
MMO coming
if you
out.
want an
It is.
MMO that has potential to like just wipe the floor in numbers with every other person in the space, then that's the IP.
What right? Yeah. I mean, they've
Yeah,
got the people.
that's the idea.
That's the other size of the company.
I mean,
They've got the numbers.
think
for
about
it.
how many people play their primary game, and even if only a small percentage of them came over, they could just dominate the space.
Well, and
without
imagine
even
like
thinking about it.
linking like the actual MOBA to the MMO as well, and like having
Yeah.
rewards and stuff, and like having the MOBA as a mini game within the MMORPG. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much potential. It's going to be very
Did
interesting.
you know that what's it called? Fortnite, when it came out, like the Fortnite,
That's the
whatever,
action for Fortnite.
the game of Fortnite,
Minecraft.
the game of Fortnite wasn't supposed to be what it is, right?
I know, I remember. Yeah, it was a PvE game.
Yeah,
I was
And,
there. I was
Looked
literally
fun.
there at Epic Games when they were releasing Paragon as a beta, and they were like, can you come play this game called Fortnite that we've got?" And it was this PvE like
and I
awful
originally
experience.
downloaded it because I was looking forward to when it comes out of beta and I actually get to play the
Can you still
builder.
play PvE? The PvE
I think
browser?
it came back for a moment, but then I don't.
It was
I don't
there
think
for a
people play
while.
it.
Yeah.
It's kind of large player base too. They could turn that into an MMO also, and then you'd have Thanos running around. in it.
Weird.
To be honest, I still haven't got over the fact that there was a Stargate MMO on the horizon and it got cancelled.
Oh, that makes me sad.
moons
That makes
ago,
me sad.
yeah?
Star Trek MMO is pretty good. Right, anyway, this is just
Wait,
like
no,
the
no, this
Lightbringers
is a
just
general
chat.
MMO topic podcast that you always talk about.
Well, we could
Yeah.
do this during the
Yeah.
question episode, and we can just
Make
chat
sure to
about stuff.
ask the questions for the AMA.
Yes, please make sure in the description below, like below the description, in the comments, ask questions you would like to ask for the Christmas episode of the Lightbringers podcast, where there will be no Christmas songs because it's copyright. But like, I'll start getting some of those down, or tweet them at me, or whatever. Like, put them in the comments to the video. If you don't know where the video is, I'll put it in the description if this is on Spotify and everything, and I will release it earlier. Shut up, you damn coffee machine.
We also need a straw poll to see if polymorph or boob sliders is a more popular feature to elevate the platform. I think that's what we need.
And any sliders for the sensitive areas of the body.
Yes.
Oh, any sensitive area.
Well, we gotta be all inclusive here, you know? Human bodies are very, people like to have various sliders for various things.
Like
Big
knee
feet.
sliders.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Feet, hands.
Like
I guess
some people like sliders, some people like hot dogs.
Yeah.
People like hot dog sliders.
Wow.
Some people like both.
I'm starting to get a gist of what was going on earlier.
Unfortunately, I'm vegan, so there you go. No hot dogs.
Oh,
Well, we
I'm
have,
sorry.
there are vegan options. Vegan chicken, spelled CHIK apostrophe N. Yeah. Sausage, SAU. I'm not gonna spell. This is not.
This is not the spelling podcast.
This isn't a spelling bee.
As
Spelling
a
bee.
vegan, everything is ficken and beef
Yeah.
is beef and that kind of thing. It's all fake. Yeah.
It tastes good though. It's gotten a lot better. It's
Oh
gotten
my
Yeah.
god, so much better than it was.
I
Soy
love my
Chinese
Impossible
food is
Burger.
very good. I like soy, like, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
nice.
vegan power.
I'm getting
I mean,
hungry.
I miss beef. I do, but until they can
I
grow it in
smell
the
like
lab,
beef.
I'm not eating it.
They're getting closer.
They are getting close. Fucking hell, it's gonna be awesome. But yes,
So,
it's a moral judgment for me.
oh, what?
Anyway.
Are you talking about the 3D printed beef?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
that
Yeah. I saw that on the news
Yeah.
the other day. That looked great.
Yeah.
I was like,
I'm not
that's
eating
really weird.
plastic. I'm already drinking it.
That's true. All right, anyway,
Also-
as we have
I
completely
hear it.
veered off of the subject in every single which way we possibly can, other than talking about hair products, that is the end of the Lightbringers podcast.
Sensitive topic.
It is, yeah. Massively. I'm so favourite. Christmas time. We were being nice, and then it changed. I will have tinsel hair as a celebration.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my god, Mary, is that you?
Look,
By the
you're
way,
too
it is.
beautiful. If you had hair, it would just be too OP. Okay.
True.
The baldness just normalizes you down.
That's true. That's true.
It's
Normalizes me down. Oh, that was kind of nice, I think.
It was. There's a compliment in there.
I'm not sure anymore. Thank you so much. Oh, this is itchy. Okay, anyway, don't forget, check out the Lightbringers podcast. Really is cheap tinsel. Normally it doesn't itch your neck, is it, Chris?
Is there expensive tinsel?
Yeah. It's skin sensitive tinsel. It probably exists.
Okay.
This from the strip
Skin-
show that you went to?
Skinsel, yeah. Sounds like a sausage. Boots, what do you do? Where do you do it? Outro time.
I do videos over on YouTube at World of Enders, and yeah, Guild Wars 2 stuff. Check it out.
Awesomeness. Kroof, what do you do? And where
Hi
do you do?
everyone, I'm Grove. I do a lot of videos over on YouTube, and I have some videos talking about the concept art, and I'd love if you go and watch it. And I also stream on Twitch every once in a while, playing some Guild Wars 2, so I had a great time.
Alex,
I
what do
don't know
you
how to
do?
follow that.
Where do you do it? I don't know, it sounds like a
There it is.
thing.
Onyx. Oh, some people listen. Okay, so
Yes.
the Crichton Herald on YouTube, Crichton Herald on Twitch, the Crichton Herald everywhere. That's me.
I
Apart
just
from in Guild Wars 1, that's actually a character. That's a character in Guild Wars 1.
okay.
Yes.
I just noticed that your hair has bounce to it on your character.
I got some physics going on, man. Yeah.
I just noticed. There you go. Wow. Whoa.
I mean, if your hair moves like that, seek help. But no, this is okay.
If my
It's
hair,
really-
I don't even know how that would work for me personally, but maybe on the back and sides if I grow it. Anyway, Twitch.tv/Jebro Unity every Friday about 1 p.m. Pacific-ish. Should you want to join us for the Lightbringers podcast live, otherwise you can check out the stream for other bits and bobs that I do on the weekend, playing various games, including Guild Wars 2, MMORPGs, single-player games, live service games, whatever. Check out all the things. Also, YouTube channel where you can find out all of the Lightbringers podcasts episodes ever released, as well as our previous guests as well. Please check out the description for all of their links, bits and pieces, also links to buy the game at the moment as well. And yes, it is my birthday next week, so if you want to send me all the presents, then do that. I will be older than I am now. So that,
which is saying something.
Yeah, it's life, right? Let's
Party
laugh.
time.
Party time. And it's Christmas. Yay for December birthdays. They suck. You always
I'm
get
also a
that December Christmas birthday combination. Oh, your birthday's in December. Might as well just combine it with Christmas. No, actually, fuck you. Sorry.
Yeah, I get them too.
Are you as well?
Yeah.
You get that? See?
I do. Yeah, it happens.
It does happen. It's annoying.
Yeah.
You said the word Christmas. It's there, dumb. There it is.
I live in America now. For Christmas has been here for a long time.
Fuck with Mars.
November 1st, people started putting up their trees.
So true. It's like Thanksgiving is on the horizon. That's it. You are done. Thank you.
I love Quizmos.
Christmas.
Quizmos.
Are you saying Quiznos?
Quizmos.
Quiznos.
If you search up Camila Cabello singing I'll Be Home for Christmas, you'll understand.
Oh no!
Thanks
I saw
so
that.
much,
Yeah.
everyone. I've gotten to the outro screen right now, so we are gonna. Oh my god, Jesus! Thank you so much for paying attention at points to the Lightbringers podcast episode 33. We'll be back next week, where who the hell knows what we're going to talk about, because I'm not sure there's much left, but I'm sure there is. We'll find something. Don't forget, put your comment below if you want to ask us a question. It can be whatever at the moment, because it's going to be a Christmas episode in the next couple of weeks, seeing when people are available. It's already the 2nd, so we should probably start to get on that, Jebro, quite soon. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.